Take a moment and ask yourself a question. What really makes the world go round? Some of you will say that it's money. Others will say that it's love. But let's be realistic. It's oil. The world is one large, well-oiled machine. And from this oil, all our transportation needs are met. Most importantly, our roadways. Without oil and the asphalt that comes from it, where would our vehicles drive? Where would our planes land? Asphalt helps us build the veins and arteries that are at the heart of the world's infrastructure, all thanks to oil. Like any commodity, oil is based on supply and demand. When both are high, we see progress and prosperity. However, when the balance of supply and demand is disturbed, our world is thrown into disarray. In 1973, during the Arab-Israeli War, when oil was in high demand, suppliers in the Middle East abruptly cut off the supply to North America. This would become the infamous oil embargo of 1973-74. Our world literally screeched to a halt. Gasoline was scarce, electricity was rationed, and the prices for these luxuries skyrocketed. Despite the game of politics that was played out abroad, roads had already been commissioned here in Ontario. But with oil prices reaching all-time highs, how could asphalt mixers within our province afford to honor their contracts without losing their shirts in the process? To avoid financial ruin, a group of individuals took swift action. Meeting in early 1974, these asphalt producers formed OHMPA, the Ontario Hot Mix Producers Association. Through this association, they would have more control over prices, production, and contracts, allowing them to stay afloat throughout the oil crisis and into the future.
Really what triggered OHMPA, caused me to decide to do something, was when they raised the tax 3% more. I think it was 2% we were paying on the materials, and they raised it another 3% and brought it up to 5%. Well, a lot of us had carryover work, and it was all based on the 2%. So when you got hit with another 3%, it was going to, hurt. This is what really triggered it, and I got a hold of a few of the guys. We had a meeting at the Constellation Hotel. This was before the Cara Inn. At a meeting at the Constellation Hotel. I invited everybody to have lunch. And it was at this point that I suggested that we form this organization. Everybody was feeling the same way, that we had to do something to surmount this, because you just can't jack up prices and then it's okay to raise prices. You're going to absorb some of it. That's part of business. But not to raise the prices that we found ourselves being faced with. This is what it was all about. Everybody put their foot down and said, no, we were going to have to do something. We can't do the work because it's going to cost us money to do the work, and that's not right.
In the fall of 1973, I guess we got word that this asphalt was going to be escalating to ridiculous numbers. We were all concerned because of the increases were going to really hurt the companies. At first we thought we weren't going to have much of a chance because we were tied into contracts. So I guess it was about 5 or 6 of us that got together who had contracts with the City of Toronto and also with the MTO. And we decided we have to try and do something about this. So we started to talk to the different jurisdictions, the City of Toronto and MTO, highways people, and they were all kind of hesitant to do it because they were setting a precedent that had never been done before. So as it turned out, we got a little bit of cooperation from them by having them recall the contracts and got us out of the contracts that we were in.
I think that we were used to our price of asphalt from the oil companies to be $28 a ton, $28.25 the next year. There was really never any significant huge increases. So you can kind of count on the stability of the liquid asphalt prices in that period of time. And when 1974 came along, there was a huge increase. And the industry was in turmoil because a lot of companies had a lot of carryover work from one year to the next. And they were concerned about this huge increase. And it was very, very economically hurtful to a lot of the companies, and a consensus was formed that maybe we should try to do something about it, and that was the beginning of the Ontario Hot Mix Producers Association.
Well, I was working for Warren Paving in 1976. It was called Warren Bitcholithic. I convinced the company that we should really get involved with OHMPA, because it was the only asphalt voice really that Ontario had. Oh, they're a great bunch of guys. Although we were competitors, we were pretty good friends. We looked at the testing, and the testing of asphalt cement. We used the Marshall system. And we seem to be having a lot of conflict as far as the testing results. The testing that the municipalities or the ministry got was in conflict with what we had. So we thought, well, here's a big problem that we have to look at. And from that, we decided, well, we've got to inspect these labs and find out why. And in doing that, we found that the equipment was different from one lab to the next. The testing methods, there were some idiosyncrasies in some testing that some people did, some people didn't. There were all kinds of differences. So it was decided by this committee that, you know what, we have to standardize all the testing procedures. We have to standardize our equipment. If we're going to be able to have meaningful results, then we have to get some certification going. And that's when the certification of laboratories was started. But it was because of OHMPA that this came about.
That year, I guess it was 82, I guess it was sometime in 82, I started with the association. I was on committees. I didn't realize it at the time that, you know, the association was only 7 years old really at that time, 7 or 8 years old. And I was 24 years old, and the next thing I know, I'm sitting around with some tremendous gentlemen, owners and top executives of all the asphalt producers, and quietly worked my way up until 1988. I ended up being president of the association. We had to start hiring more staff. We were preparing for a full-time association. There was just too many issues to tackle with volunteers from the industry. The association changed completely.
Our company needed somebody to, you know, because I was in the asphalt industry, and our company was not represented at OHMPA at all, so I became a director, and eventually worked on up to president. In 1993, I headed up the OHMPA's Environmental Committee, and at the time they were looking at producing some sort of a document that one could go to, let's say, could go to court with, or for, you know, fighting against siting practices and stuff like that. So it was basically a consultant-driven thing, first of all, and then with the Ministry of Environment, that is, they got involved, and then together we all sat down and came up with the Environmental Practices Guide.
OHMPA is very much in the front lines of dealing with whatever new products there is, and issues out there that need to be addressed. And I know that they have a good pipeline into and to the MTO, and you know, I mean, they're the spokes body for the industry. So I think they're well respected and doing a good job.
I seem to be more of an environmentalist than I am, you know, a lot of other things. I would certainly look for more environmental changes.
And I always felt that the OHMPA Association gives back big time to its members.
The industry's in good hands with OHMPA, because if there's anything new that comes up, OHMPA's going to know about it.
OHMPA can keep going and be leaders in the industry on the asphalt end of things, because that's where they are now, and they'll continue that way, as far as I can see.
I wish all the members and those that are running it right now the best of luck, because you're on a course that you have to stay on for the safety of everybody in the industry.